It's time to take you through this week in Nicholls Athletics as we bring you the best of Colonel sports from Nicholls State University. This week in Nicholls Athletics is presented by State Farm Insurance. Contact your local State Farm agent today and get to a better state with State Farm Insurance.
Hello and welcome to This Week in Nicholls Athletics presented by State Farm Insurance. I'm your host, Mike Wagenheim. This morning we'll talk Colonel Hoops. Later on in the program, we'll be joined by the head coach of the Nicholls women's basketball team, DoBee Plaisance. But we'll tip off the show with men's head coach, J.P. Piper. Welcome to the program, my friend.
Hello, glad to be here.
Glad to have you here. You are beat up, banged up, just a plethora of injuries right now. How are you getting through it?
It's been tough. I feel for our guys. It's tough to go to a gunfight without all your bullets, and I feel like that's what we've been doing. Not having Dantrell Thomas, not having Ben Martin, not having Pedro Maciel. Plus, leading up to the last few weeks, we've had concussions and busted ankles, and just it seems we can't catch a break. And I'm hoping that in the grand scheme of things, we're paying our dues now, and there's going to be a reward for all this at some point down the line.
Let's hope so. The Colonels took to the court once this week, facing Louisiana Monroe in Nicholls' home opener at Stoford Gym. While the Colonels have had a great deal of success at home, claiming victory in 31 of their previous 37 contests, they struggled throughout this one without the services of, again, two of their starters, senior Ben Martin and sophomore Dantrell Thomas. Martin out with a back injury, Thomas suffering from a deep calf bruise. Let's take a look at the opening minutes. The Colonels have lived and died by the three this year. Freshman Sam McBeath gets a hand in the face from Trey Lindsay, but drills it from downtown. Nicholls up 6 a couple minutes into the ball game. Shreveport native Charles Winborn clears a rebound for the Warhawks, setting up Marcellus Hansberry. Trevon Lewis dares him to shoot it. The three from straight away puts ULM up 7-6. Here, Lewis on the wing finds and cutting Brian Hammond for the lay-in. Hammond contributes a season-high 11 points. Colonels back up 1 at the 15-minute mark. Shane Reelier penetrating, spots McBeath behind the screen. Sam launches from outside the arc. McBeath tied a team high with 12 points, 13-9 Nicholls. Reelier gets the ball from Hammond here. How about this move? Reelier put in a season-high 12. Nicholls up 6 midway through the half. Now here's Trent Mackey playing catch with Winborn. Mackey's long-distance connection ties the game at 17 at the 8-minute mark. ULM hit 12 threes in this game. Neither team was really shy about throwing the ball up.
No, we certainly hoisted them up there. In fact, I got a little frustrated with our guys at points during the game because I felt like we abandoned trying to get the ball to the rim, and I felt like we have some guys that can do that, but we, I guess in baseball parlance, we were swinging for the fence instead of, playing small ball. And a young team kind of made a few early and felt like, hey, coach, we can put this in the hole. And it's a dangerous game to play because when it goes away from you, it goes away in a hurry. And it was one of the things that led to the game eventually slipping away from us in the second half, I think.
Now back to the action here. Down 1, 7 minutes left in the half. Nicholls works the ball around the perimeter here, and Hammond winds up with the open look. The sophomore from New Orleans hands the advantage back to Nicholls. How about freshman Sterling Bailey? At the elbow here, he sets a screen, steps back, receives a dish. Bonus ball is his first field goal as a Colonel. He'd have a lot more in that one. Nicholls up 23-19. Winborn, nothing fancy here, gets the ball in the wing, just creates his own shot. He went for a game-high 19 points. Nicholls leads by a bucket at the 5-minute mark. Fred Brown feeds Fabio Ribeiro. The bucket plus the foul puts ULM up 1. Final minute and a half of the opening stanza here. Reelier, great fake up top. He drives in the scoop off the glass and the foul. Nicholls reclaims the lead, but in the last few seconds here, Hugh Mingo drains it from the short corner. ULM takes a 36-34 lead into the break. 5 ties and 11 lead changes in the first half alone. But we saw Shane Reelier, a couple of clips there. Just a freshman. What a job he does improvising at the basket.
And he's really grown up, and from our conversations, we were hoping to bring him along a little more slowly and have Pedro Maciel be the lead guard and let Shane play backup and kind of ease his way into this. But we've had to throw Shane into the mix and say, hey, go. And I thought this was kind of a breakthrough for him in terms of maybe hunting a bucket or two here and there, where he'd been really passive in the first few games. And you see he's very capable of doing some things. He's just got to find his spots and learn when to go and when to hold up. And I think it'll only get better. I'm excited about his future.
Well, hopefully Pedro Maciel comes back from that knee injury at some point this year. But when he does, it's going to be a fight for that starting spot, and that's a great thing.
That's what you want. You want guys to feel some pressure if they don't go out and perform and play with a high level of energy and toughness, that they may lose minutes to someone else. That, to me, is a sign of a good program.
I'll turn our attention to the second half here. ULM doubling down on Lewis in the post, but the Colonels work it to the wing here for Chris Talkington for the three. We're tied at 39. Nicholls went 9 of 22 from downtown on the night. Rillier, we spoke about him a minute ago, just finds a way to score the ball. 16 minutes left, and the Colonels lead it by 3 points, but downtown Fred Brown off the inbounds helps ULM to a 12 of 21 effort from three-point range. ULM now up 49-44. Brown would connect again. He goes for 15 points, and Nicholls finding themselves now down by 8. This was a real critical swing in the ball game here. These Colonel guards are not afraid to drive the ball. This time, it's Brian Hammond getting to the basket. Warhawks by 6 with 12 minutes to play. Now, C-Talk here misses a 3, but Bailey corrals it and puts it in. Nicholls still down 6. Bailey played 19 minutes. Scored 10 points, registered 4 rebounds. Sterling had only played a few minutes all year. This might have been his breakthrough, too.
It was. I was a little frustrated with one of his teammates, and so that created an opportunity for Sterling. And, I had not developed a high level of confidence in Sterling in practice, but after what he did in the game, I think he's earned some more minutes. He's earned another opportunity. Now, he'll have to follow up that effort with some good work in practice. But, based on what he got done in the game, when you looked at his line after the game, he was probably the bright spot of the game for us. And maybe we've discovered a guy that's going to create a little more depth for us when we get everybody back and we're healthy. So, one guy struggles, another guy gets an opportunity, and I'm happy for Sterling that he was able to step up.
Momentum would swing back and forth in this game here. Here's Fabio Ribeiro setting up in the low post. Out for Mackey, one of his makes from downtown. He had 4 of them, and the ULM advantage is at 9. McBeath with the drive and the dish to Hammond, swinging it to Bailey for the corner 3. It's a 5-point game inside of 9 minutes. Now down by 7, McBeath draws a few defenders in the lane and finds Rillier in the corner. 8:30 to go, and Nicholls is within 4. But this was a game changer here. Mackey gets the pick from Ribeiro coming up, and that put ULM up 7 with 8 minutes left. The Colonels would not get closer the rest of the way. Brown to Hansberry, going baseline here, and kicks it back to Brown for the 3. And ULM leading by double digits for the first time. Lindsay here clears the board, the outlet to Brown, and the skip pass for the Winborn 3. That was all she wrote. The Colonels fall 86-65. Coach, this was a 4-point game with 8:29 left, but we talked about at the beginning, just not enough bullets left in the gun in this one.
No, depth is an issue for us, and as we wore down, they got too many clean looks on the perimeter, and they just shot lights out. I think we did a good job of not giving up the rim. We gave up what you would want to give up. You hope they'll miss a few from the perimeter, but honestly, at this level, you got to make guys miss. They're too talented, and as we kind of fatigue down the stretch with young players, their older, more experienced players just stepped up and made big shots for them. And, they shot the cover off the ball in the second half. And some of that is a credit to them, but some of that I think falls at our feet. We just didn't defend well enough. But it's a valuable lesson for a young team about what can happen to you if you don't work hard defensively for 40 minutes. So while I don't like it, we'll talk about the lessons that we learned, and we'll look to move forward and not let that happen to us again. And we do get these guys again in a short amount of time, so maybe we can return the favor at their place.
The Colonels desperately needing some time off to heal, and you get it now. That was the only game of the week, and then you're not playing again until Friday when you host Loyola. So this couldn't have come at a better time for this club right now.
Yeah, and we kind of went into this with practice scheduled, but given what we've been through all the way back to the Lafayette tournament, I just felt like they needed time off. If I felt like they weren't working hard, if I felt like they weren't trying to do what we're asking of them, then you might want to get them in there and crank on them a little bit. But they've done all that we've asked, and they are trying. It's just hard to put 3 years of experience into 2 months of practice, but that's what you're trying to do with a freshman, and it doesn't work. So That's what happened to us the other night. I think based on how hard they've worked, they deserve some time to step off the floor, focus on the books, get everything right in the classroom, do well on these exams, and then we've got a good solid month in a couple of weeks here to really crank on them and see how much we can grow up over this break before we get into conference play in mid-January, early January.
Well, the promising thing is, when you're at full strength, we saw how the team played against LSU, very competitive in that one. Cal State Fullerton, the same thing, even with the UL Lafayette for about 30 minutes of play. So this team, when healthy, can compete, and that's a promising thing for sure.
Well, and coming into the season, we thought Dantrell was our best player. And not to knock any of the other guys, I think we have some talented young men, but we thought he was our guy. And then Ben is our senior, and he's the steadying influence. He's kind of the pack mom, if you will, and when things go a little crazy, he huddles them up and settles them down and points out things within the game that maybe we can't get to from the bench. And so to be without one of those guys would be tough. To be without both of those guys, I was scared to death going into this game. I knew this could happen, and our worst fears came to pass. We kind of hit a rough patch in the game in the second half, and we weren't able to right it on our own. And despite timeouts and conversations and substitutions, we just never could get back on top. But again, valuable lessons learned, and we've got to go through this if we're going to become a championship caliber team.
Well, coaches are at heart teachers, and we knew going in there'd be a lot of teachable moments this year.
No question.
Coach, we appreciate your time, and we'll
Absolutely.
talk to you again on Friday in Houma, all right?
Thanks, Mike.
Colonel's women's basketball team flew out to the West Coast last weekend and returned with a win. When we come back, we'll chat with head coach DoBee Plaisance. You're tuned in to This Week in Nicholls Athletics, presented by State Farm Insurance.
There goes Dwayne's car. There goes Dwayne's house. And there goes Dwayne.
Man, that thing does not like Dwayne.
State Farm's got you covered.
In Thibodaux, call Jude Guidry. And in Houma, call Darryl Brew.
Get to a better state.
Back with you on This Week in Nicholls Athletics, presented by State Farm Insurance. This is a big year for the Colonel women's basketball team as they progress toward their goals. One big step for any burgeoning program is to learn to win away from home. The Colonels flew out to Eugene, Oregon last weekend for a holiday event, came away with a victory over Weber State, sandwiched in between setbacks against UC Irvine and Oregon. We welcome the head coach of the Nicholls women's basketball team, DoBee Plaisance, and we're rocking and rolling this year.
Oh, yes, we are. Very excited to be here. The road was a great test for us, and I think our women really stepped up to the challenge out there in a number of ways, but it was a great experience for us, and we're just looking forward to a very bright future this season.
There's no better way for a young team to gel than spend a holiday weekend together and kind of get a feel for each other.
Oh, absolutely, and the women were wonderful. Wherever we had visited, whether it be a hotel or a restaurant, whether it was other customers in the restaurant or hotel workers, just were coming up to me, and I was like the proud mom, and they're not even my biological children, how well-mannered they were and how grateful they were that we were around, whatever they can do. They were very hospitable out there in Eugene, and it was a great experience, even though we did have, it was either pizza or po' boys Thanksgiving Day, but it didn't seem to faze them that much.
That actually sounds perfect to me. Talk a little bit about the win against Weber State. What clicked in that game?
Well, that game was, I felt like we did the best job so far this year identifying with personnel and give away, take away. We are maturing. We're a very young team working together, and we're maturing, knowing our strengths. But with Weber, I think that was the best game so far in terms of their personnel, the giveaway, take away, what to do and what not to do. And I think that was definitely a huge factor in that victory.
Able to pick up that win last Saturday, and then you run into a Lady Duck squad on Sunday that's now 6-0, and that's a tough team right there.
Absolutely, and Oregon at Oregon was very, it was impressive, and the facilities are over the top, but everyone was so hospitable over there, and we were ready. We were in the ball game, most of the ball game down there, and Leanne McCarthy went down in the Weber State game early, so we were playing without Leanne, which was pretty much a blow, but the kids stepped up, the replacements for us stepped up, and overall it was a very competitive game.
Well, we're going to take a look at some of the highlights here from Sunday. Don't adjust your screens, by the way. Very funky court there at the Matthew Knight Center. Very first possession, Jasmine Holliday with a drive and score for Oregon. Took a little while for the Colonels to get going here in this one. Amanda Johnson for the Lady Ducks goes baseline and shooting here over Jasmine Hoskins. Johnson on her way to a double-double. We're 90 seconds in at 7-0, but the Colonels woke up. Summer Leslie gets the ball in the hands of Alicia Allen. She's determined to get to the basket. Allen scored the first 2 buckets for Nicholls on the way to a 23-point performance. Offensive rebounding hurt the Colonels in this one. A missed 3 from the wing, but Danielle Love follows and cleans it up. 22 offensive boards for the Lady Ducks. Shot clock running down here. Jenny Nash controls. Hands off to Leslie, and it's KK Babin from way outside. Babin 5 of 9 from downtown. Nicholls trails 11-7 about 3.5 minutes in. I think Oregon didn't watch enough tape because you got to guard Babin about to what, 28 feet from the bucket?
Depending on the zone she's in, it could be half court.
A little bit of a sluggish start in this one, but once the Colonels got going there, they were in the thick of things for the rest of the way throughout that first half.
And unfortunately, our Achilles heel has been offensive rebounding in terms of our opponents, and that's something we've been focusing on and focused pretty hard on in practice today. But you take those 23 points off second chance rebounds out of that first half, it's a ball game. We might even be up. And it's not a matter of size. I mean, our women, even though Oregon was a much bigger team than us, we just have to work better on getting in position. But you're right about KK. KK was in the zone, and I'm telling you, watch her at half court if she's really there.
While offensive boards were a killer in this one, it's not as if the Colonels weren't challenging for rebounds. The Lady Ducks, though, able to get the better of Nicholls here as Love hits the J to put Oregon up by 9 as she steps back and nails it from the baseline. Now here's Leslie controlling out top. The Lady Ducks losing sight of KK for just an instant. This is what happens. Nicholls hit 12 threes in the game. The Colonels break the press here. Babin drives and dishes to Holly Martin. Back to Leslie for a bonus ball. Nicholls down just 5 about 8 minutes in. For Oregon, Lexi Peterson can't get the puppy to drop, but Johnson with one of her dozen rebounds to put Oregon back up by 7. Lady Ducks out to a double-digit advantage. Nicholls works the ball around the perimeter. Oregon dares Allen to fire, and she hits the 3. It's 31-20. Lady Ducks, about 9 minutes left in the half. It can get a little bit demoralizing when you get a stop on defense, but you can't quite finish the possession, and that happened a ton in this one.
Yes, it did. And, again, Oregon, much bigger. They had a couple of Pac-12 players on that team, and I really feel like our women rose to the challenge. I challenged them at halftime at the break. I said, look, it's about offensive rebounding right now. And they were bigger, and the physicality of the game wasn't as much as just their size would take a toll on us. And I challenged them. I'm like, in this game, you can get tired, but you can't act tired. You might feel tired, but you can't play tired. In a game like this, you can't afford to get tired, especially when we're playing, like I said, down one player with Leanne McCarthy being out. But they really stepped up in that second half, and I was, like I said, very, very pleased. And even the Oregon people they shook my hands after the game. The people at the scores table were very impressed with our little team.
Well, Nicholls wasn't going away quietly in this one. Still first half, the Colonels make a run here. Allen steals it, and it's Nash trailing the play, begging for the basketball here. The 3 from the top of the key brings Nicholls within 5. Nash narrowly missed a double-double. Babin getting the ball from Leslie. Plays a little in and out here with Martin. And the 3 for KK from the corner. Nicholls shot 52% from the field in the first half. Nash may be looking to play quarterback here in the Pac-12. The perfect outlet to Leslie for the lay-in. And it's a one-possession game with 4 minutes on the first half clock. But Oregon goes on an 8-2 run. The miss by Peterson on the jumper is followed by Johnson. Oregon builds a lead to 14. Final seconds of the first half. Babin up the left sideline. Pulls up just like she drew it up. Banked it in. You go into the break down 58-47. Your overall thoughts on that first half?
Well, like I said, it had to do with offensive rebounding. Now, their press did give us some issues, but we made a couple adjustments there, and even with their size, and they were trying to make us inbound the ball very close to the baseline, we were able to make those adjustments. Didn't necessarily get them out the press, but the press wasn't as effective. And like I said, got them fired up at halftime. Like, we're in here. I mean, we have a shot at this thing. And they came out, and we did not give up as many offensive boards in the second half, and they did meet the challenge. And it was close down to, we were within striking distance within the last 4 minutes of the ball game. And my hat's off to this team. I mean, playing in an environment like that, and it was a class act environment, but they still had people, the cheerleaders, and everything going for them. And then did I mention the facilities?
I think you did. I think you did. Second half of action here. Oregon got the jump out of the locker room, down by 17, ball on the right wing, and it's Babbitt, weak side, slipping free here for the turnaround J. She finished with 21 points. Babbitt up top, dishing to Leslie, who hands to Allen for the corner three. The deficit is at a dozen here with 14 minutes left, not out of reach. 9 minutes remain now, and Leslie spots Nash for the downtown connection. Leslie with 7 helpers to go along with 14 points and 7 boards, but Oregon just never gave any ground. Nash with a backcourt steal, the layup, but it's not enough. Nicholls falls to Oregon 95-76. The Lady Ducks remain undefeated at 6-0. You got your points. You played better in the second half, but Oregon just wasn't missing their shots.
No, they were not, and that is pretty indicative to their team. That wasn't a fluke. I mean, they do a great job out there. They're competitive in the Pac-12. Like I said, they had a couple of all Pac-12 players in there. And our kids just hung in there. They didn't back down. They played hard and, playing a little down here. And we had some kids get in foul trouble in that game. Also, we had a freshman, Jean-Marie Guillery, had to match up because our replacement post player, Jasmine Hoskins, got in early foul trouble. So Jean-Marie had to go in there and play up against a senior all Pac-12 player, and Jean-Marie held her own. So, like I said, the future's bright, and I'm very, very, and I could not have been prouder of my women this weekend because they really did a great job.
I got finals here this week and heading into the early portion of next week, and then you'll draw Florida A&M in our game in Houma coming up next Friday. With this little lull here in the schedule, what are you looking to work on?
Rebounding. Today we didn't even go over offense or defense. It was all about rebounding, offensive rebounding, us getting to the boards also, stepping away, blocking out. And then tomorrow we're going to work more on our spacing and, again, really trying to hone in on our personnel and everything. Because ULM, they're not going to lay down against us, and they're going to be looking for their win, and we're going to go in there, and hopefully we can keep an up-tempo type game against them, and we're going to be doing a good job.
Colonels will take on UL Monroe tonight in Monroe, and then their next home game coming up next Friday against Florida A&M. Who's been a pleasant surprise for you so far?
Right now, I'd have to say our freshman Jenny Nash out of Texas. We decided against Weber State to go with a smaller lineup due to matchups, and it was a little bit of a gamble. And so we put Jenny in that lineup, and she hasn't looked back since. She's a very cerebral player, very high basketball IQ, but she plays hard. She does little things. And for a freshman who has a lot of maturing to do in terms of physical size and everything like that, the future is very bright for her.
Colonels right now stand at 2-4 on the season. Again, UL Monroe coming up tonight, and then we'll draw Florida A&M next week. It's been a fun run so far. This team it's a lot of fun to watch. Very, very high octane offense you got running.
Absolutely, and arguably right now we could easily either be because we've been in every game, either undefeated or at best maybe 2 losses. And so, but I think it has to do again with the maturation process, us getting together, getting acclimated to each other, learning how to best suit our personnel, and once we get in that kind of rhythm, we're going to be hard to beat.
Coach, we thank you for your time.
Thank you so much, Mike. Always a pleasure.
DoBee Plaisance, the head coach of the Nicholls Colonels women's basketball team. We're going to be right back to wrap things up in just a moment. Stay with us.
There goes Dwayne's car. There goes Dwayne's house. And there goes Dwayne.
Man, that thing does not like Dwayne.
State Farm's got you covered.
In Lockport, call James Matassa. And in Houma, call Renee Carricker.
Get to a better state.
Welcome back to This Week in Nicholls Athletics, presented by State Farm Insurance. A reminder, folks, we'll be in Houma next Friday night, December the 9th, for a special Nicholls basketball doubleheader at the Houma Terrebonne Civic Center. It's brought to you by Rouse's Markets. The women will face Florida A&M at 5:30. The men take on Loyola at 8 o'clock. Tickets are just $5 for adults, only $3 for fans 18 and under. You absolutely positively cannot beat that deal. Again, that's Friday, December the 9th at the Houma Terrebonne Civic Center. We're there once a year. It's always a special night, and we hope you'll join us. Tickets are available. You can give us a call at 985-448-4790. That number again, 985-448-4790, right up on your screen there. You can also log on to Ticketmaster.com, and every piece of information you need to purchase tickets or just follow our teams throughout the season is available on our official website, www.GoColonels.com. That's G-E-A-U-X, GoColonels.com. That's going to do it for our show this morning. We want to thank Angela Boudreau, Julie Baudouin, Coach J.P. Piper, and Coach DoBee Plaisance. We'll talk to you again next week for This Week in Nicholls Athletics, presented by State Farm Insurance. I'm Mike Wagenheim. Enjoy the rest of your weekend.
Today's show has been brought to you by State Farm Insurance. Contact your local State Farm agent today and get to a better state with State Farm Insurance. This has been a presentation of the Colonel Sports Network.